All right, so Sage has a review for Alien Isolation here, the 10-year-old game. Sage, take it away there. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, first off, it's kind of amazing playing this. It does not look 10 years old graphically. Sometimes the character models will. During some of the cutscenes, you see the character faces up close. Those look a little dated. But the environments, the alien itself moving around, graphically, this game looks maybe 5 years old at the most. Really, really strong art direction here. If a lot of people are familiar with the most recent movie, Romulus, that actually kind of used this game to build a lot of the practical sets and stuff. We took a lot of inspiration from how the game was designed, which is interesting too, because well, just to give the basic idea of it, this takes place 15 years after the original film Alien, and you are playing as Amanda Ripley, Ellen Ripley's daughter, who we learn about in Aliens, right? And Ellen was in cryogenic sleep so long that her daughter had died of old age, right? By the time the second movie starts. So this goes back in between those two, 15 years after the first one. You play as Amanda Ripley, uh, basically kind of working a series of like dead end kind of scavenger jobs, more or less, to hopefully find the wreckage of her mother's ship, find the black box recording, find out what happened. And hey, what do you know? The game opens with she gets a tip. They think the crew might have found wreckage from the Nostromo, might have found what she's looking for. And so of course she signs up for the job. She goes out to the ship, and they come to this really really big station. And this is what kind of differentiates this game's setting from other film from the like the all the different various movies in the Alien franchise. Is each of those movies, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but Alien takes place on a specific ship. Aliens, you've got a ship, you've got like a colony, but then it's back to the ship, and a lot of it is taking place like on that. Uh, Alien 3 is like a prison. 4 is a ship again. Prometheus is a ship. Covenant's a ship. Uh, Here, and this it reminded me of the second Dead Space game a lot actually, because here it is a space station, but it is a space station that is like the size of a city. It's called the Sevastopol. This was one of the coolest elements. Is it felt like there was a maybe the greatest variety in environments that I think we've actually gotten maybe out of this entire franchise, honestly, because the structure is so massive, and to explore it and make that feel worthwhile and earned and interesting the entire time. You're moving around to these different sections of the ship, and you really do have these actually nice, different looking environments as you're going along. So that was one thing that was just really impressive. That ties back into what I started out saying is just the art direction here is really incredible. I mean, you know, there's a lot of games from around 2014. I've talked about this a lot, where I think games are aging less the more time goes on. Like a game from 2004 in 2014 looked pretty old. A game from 2014 today holds up a lot better than that. But this, I think, even more so than most, just really, really looks just very, very impressive. Um, I'll also say I was a little skeptical going into this one, just because the alien in this is something that will kill you very easily if you get caught by it. It's almost an insta death, basically. And I've never been the biggest fan of kind of the run and hide type of horror games. Like there's a couple that I find fun and that work for me, but a lot of the time that style of game for me can get very repetitive. I end up feeling like I'm doing the same thing a lot of the time. Um, I tend to find horror games more interesting when I can fight back, but how well I can fight back is dependent on my skill at like a combat system, right? Or a set of shooting mechanics. So I went in and I wasn't loving this right at the beginning. Um, but I will say, as it went along, it started to provide more tools. You do get some guns. So there are some human enemies. You deal with synthetics in some really cool ways, and that's actually a unique thing about this game too. Is the Sevastopol station is it's like really old, right? Like so, like think by the time of the first Alien movie, like a station that is like way out of date, like using outdated technology. So the synthetics that are on the station, they don't quite look human. Like they have like almost like it looks like a sheet of like plastic going from their head down their neck to like their clothes. Their skin is completely white. They don't have hair, like eyebrow hair. Yeah, there you go. They have like glowing eyes. Like you can really tell very obviously that they're not human. This sequence is one where one is actually helping you for a little bit because of his programming, but there's quite a few sequences where you have to get around them.
Damn.
You can. Well, I don't know why the person just did that because that one, I'm telling you, that is a scene where that thing is totally helping you. That is a very poor choice to attack it. But you can so you can kill human enemies, you can kill the synthetic enemies, but it makes a lot of noise, which draws the xenomorph into the area. Now, to go back to what I was saying about not being the biggest fan of run and hide type of horror games, there's a few exceptions here and there, but I end up feeling like I am doing the same thing a lot. But what made that what prevented that feeling from setting in here was the sheer just number of tools that you get. You get a lot of distraction tools. You get flash grenades. You get a straight up flamethrower. Like, well, yeah, look at how big your weapon wheel is right there. You have a lot of stuff at your hands. By the time you get to like, I'd say right around the halfway point, this tool set's really fleshed out. And it's like a solid crafting system of having to scavenge your way around the environment. That does remind you of like a Resident Evil or something like that. So that resource management element, uh, whereas like some of the games that I'm not a fan of in that style, stuff like Amnesia, which I know has a big fan base, but for me personally, I'm not super into it. And that just that kind of style of thing. But this it has so many tools that it ends up evolving past that. It's a Molotov cocktail right there too. Um, and as you play though, what really makes this game unique is that the aliens AI is not just like a static NPC enemy. The way it works is the AI for the alien creature has two AI brains that are operating the creature's movements simultaneously. One of those brains knows where you, the player, are on the map at all times, right? No matter where you are, it knows exactly just dead pinpoint location. The second brain is completely clueless and basically is preventing it from locating you super easily. And so the way that its behavior works, or how it's based, is that the brain that knows everything slowly feeds the other one that doesn't understand little contextual clues to lead it in your direction. So you don't just learn the pattern of where it's moving and then, oh, okay, now I know where it's going to go. So I'm going to go this way, this way, this way. Level is done. I've cleared the area. You can't do that. No matter how many times you play this game, you can't do that because with that two brain AI system, the alien is completely dynamic the entire game. It's always changing its behaviors and it adapts to the tools you're using too. If you use like there's a noisemaker tool, right? It's just a big loud distraction. You can throw it in a corner, get something to run, get it to run over there to investigate, allow you to get by it. But it's so smart. If you do that 2 or 3 times, it's gonna stop falling for it. And if you use that tool on the fourth try, it's going to be looking everywhere else for you instead. So it learns based on your player behaviors as well. And so, yeah, like I said, the tool set really started winning me over as the game went along. But I think ultimately what ended up being the single most impressive part about this experience is it was this AI brain and the way that the alien actually moves around the environment. It's something that I can't say I've really experienced or seen in any other game. I mean, you've got some really smart AI and like The Last of Us 2 had really good AI where the NPCs in that game will kind of coordinate with each other and look for you and things will play out different. That's gotta be a glitch. That's gotta be a glitch for it to just like
I guess it didn't work out for them, I guess. Even with the flamethrower there.
Oh no, they may just barely managed to fight it off. It looks like, but yeah, I never had a moment like that. It was like if it saw me, it was on me. The flamethrower was a risky, occasionally useful tool, but you really had to be careful with it. Like full blown stealth was like the way to go for most of this game. Um, and yeah, like I said, I went in skeptical. It really won me over though as it went on. Audio design, we were just talking about some audio design stuff a little bit ago. That's another thing that's really great here, from the sound of the weapons, like the flamethrower, to the your motion tracker that you have. They've pretty much taken the sound effects, ripped them straight out of the original movie. That stuff is like chef's kiss, perfect. Anything you could want in an Alien experience. Um, so the only
Let
so
me see, because this person's using the I forgot what this is. Is this just called a
it's just
scanner?
called a it's just called a motion tracker, I think.
Okay. So let's see just a little bit of the sound here, and if you're wearing headphones, be aware there's a scream gonna be coming up, I guess, at the, end of this. So let's just get to taste a little bit of the sound in this.
Oh. Oh, 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 oh.
Sounds
I
This
like he's enjoying this game a little too much.
yeah. I was, like, getting a little too excited with this there. Let me see, yeah, because you hear a lot of the alien and then the beep in there of it, um, which is really nice there, I think of it, yeah. So, you kinda got that going for it. Uh,
The soundscape is great. They do a really good job with just kind of the ambient sound. A lot of great use of silence. And then when music does kick in and it does get intense, it really feels like music that would be in place in Alien. It really fits into the kind of score of that film in a way that I thought was really nice. Um, yeah, it's a Man, I wasn't expecting to like this as much as I did. Oh, there you go. There's the real music.
I like how they bring, like, the classic style, the way the Alien movie looked there, that very kinda old kinda technology kinda look to it, worn type of look to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got that.
Yeah, it captures the feeling and environment design of that original movie exceptionally well. Um, yeah, so, I mean, considering all that, so I guess let's go to the I guess the one negative that I'll kind of throw out there is as far as like the actual narrative of the game goes, I can't say I ever was super invested in like Amanda Ripley as her own unique character. It did kind of feel like, yeah, there's a legacy there. It's like it's Ripley's daughter, so she's notable for that reason. And yeah, she's doing all these kind of impressive feats of getting around the creature here, but it's really you, the player, doing it. And although there's a couple good moments where she it shows a bit more emotion. There's a good scene where she finds like the black box and is very upset, but it's also very short. And so I can't say that like I was ever as invested in like the characters here. I don't think the narrative is that strong. Um, it's better than most of the movies, but again, that's a low bar uh, outside of those first two. But yeah, that's one thing that I didn't think super connected for me. It's just I wish they had spent a little more time on like characterization or getting me to kind of feel something for the people here, or even just Amanda herself, even if it was only her. But I guess it's the kind of thing where a lot of games that are, a first person style game in particular, it's really trying to put the player in the shoes of the character. Like it's trying to make it feel like it's your kind of first person experience, kind of what you're seeing and what you're going through. And so it's I'm sure for a lot of people they probably prefer the you know, slightly less heavy characterization because it allows them to be immersed as though they're the one experiencing it. But for me, I personally like Dead Space, right? I was really happy that the remake gave the character a voice, kind of changed around the silent protagonist thing. Not that Amanda is a silent protagonist, but yeah, I just think and I think it's an intentionally designed thing. I think they're doing that on purpose. I think it's to create a greater sense of immersion for players. Just personally, I would find it easier to be immersed if I found the character more interesting on a personal level. Because what's investing is the cat and mouse game that you're playing with the creature. And I found that incredibly investing. I just wish I found the story more so.
Okay. You talked about the stories a little bit of the Alien movies, how there's not really a lot of diversity there. And with this game, so do you think it does kind of in case of like compared to the Alien movies, you think it's a good addition to the lore of Alien as far as the story goes? What do you think?
I think there's some cool world building and some cool lore, like about like the space station in particular. Because like I said, I actually say you get more personality from the environment and the space station that you're on than you do from like the actual human characters in the game. And so there's a lot of like, there's a lot of computer terminals and emails, and you kind of learn like the history of the station and Wayland Yutani coming in and buying it from the previous owners and then kind of junking it and not giving it the resources it needs to be functional, and kind of like the story of the station getting decommissioned. So like that actually is interesting. There's a lot of flavor to the environment itself and the place that you're in, and that actually does have a lot of character. Um, and so I do think it does worthwhile. I think it does do worthwhile things in that sense to add to just like what is living in the alien universe like for people. And this is like a greater kind of bigger group, larger civilization to kind of get an understanding of what living like that is in. So I do think there's something really beneficial in that reason. And so for that, I'd say it is like you could slot this in between the two movies, and I think it would be a pretty solid trilogy. I do. Like Alien 3 is not a good uh, third trilogy. A lot of people really liked Romulus. I thought it. I really didn't think it was very good. I think this is way better than that. Personally, it's obviously better than Resurrections, Prometheus. Um, yeah, I think it is better than
Is
pretty
this
much.
I
Sorry,
was gonna say, is this canon to the Alien universe?
I don't. You know what? I bet it is now. Now that Romulus has come out, because Romulus took so much inspiration from it. There's even like I saw somebody point out the other day that in Romulus, there are more than one time where there's like a in the background you can actually see like the save station that's in the game. You could see that like in the background on the ship in Romulus.
So this right
Um,
here, it says it's a green blinking box. Yet every time it appeared in the background of Alien Romulus, a cold chill went down the spines of possibly millions of viewers, including this writer. That's because if you ever played Alien Isolation, Creative Assembly's relentless survival horror game from 2014. Um, these telephone boxes are the stuff of nightmares and lingering trauma there. So yes, so it's a connection there to that. Okay. So in a way,
Well, so there you go. Alien Isolation is officially part of the canon of the timeline. I mean, it's the timeline is all messed up to begin with here. But yeah, I think this is a more worthwhile addition than the vast majority of the other movies.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. There is the game. Is there any like, hey, do you remember aliens? Do you remember aliens? Do you remember this? Is a lot of kind of member berries or
See, now Romulus, I did feel like it was kind of nothing but member berries. But I actually think Alien Isolation does a good job of not going down to that level. Honestly, like yes, there's the creature, yes, there's the kind of style of it, but no one's repeating lines of dialogue from like the first two movies, which I feel like is constantly something we see like every time they do another sequel. It did feel I had someone with me while I was playing it, and the comparison I made at the time was to the video game Batman Arkham Asylum. Um, Take that game as an adaptation of the comic book Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, the video game does miss out on some of the stronger characterization, more kind of direct emotional investment in the characters, and it definitely feels more of like a video game experience, kind of recreation of that other thing. And I'd say this is similar. It feels like I'm playing the first movie Alien, um, and even though it has a weaker story than that movie does, I think it is so successful at the feeling of it, and yet doing enough of its own things with like the environment and not trying to. I don't think it feels member berries. I don't, unless it's just like the property in general you'd apply that to. I think this does a really good job. It's kind of the opposite of everything I disliked about Alien Romulus, honestly.
okay. Nice. That's good to hear. So what would be your final thoughts and rating for Alien Isolation?
So at the end of the day, I think I kind of debated what I was going to give it in my head a lot because it grew on me so much as it went along. Um, I'm going to give it like a low peak,
Okay.
and I'm really surprised by that because I wasn't necessarily that excited about playing it in the first place. Like I said, it's the type of cat and mouse hide and seek genre, just not really my thing in the past. But it had so many mechanics that it introduced over the course of the game, and it had such an impressive AI system, and it replicated kind of the feeling of watching that first movie, but without doing the member berries element of it. That it really was firing on all cylinders once I got a little ways into it. And yeah, yeah, color me like extremely pleasantly surprised by this one.
Okay. So Sage gives Alien Isolation a low peak. All right there. Very awesome. And it was highly praised when the game came out there.
Yeah.
Many people were praising this. Many
And
highly reviewed.
Creative Assembly is doing the sequel too. They just announced the second one.
Yes. Yeah, they just did announce a sequel there. So a lot of people are excited about that. Alien Isolation received positive reviews and sold over 2 million copies by May 2015. There, a lot of people praise the art direction, sound design, artificial intelligence there. So yeah, things that were criticized, characters length and length received some criticism there.
So
Um,
that was a big thing that I heard people talk a lot about was that for the style of game, right, the run and hide kind of horror, that the game was too long. And I was definitely expecting to agree with that, but I actually don't. After having actually gotten through the whole thing, I really didn't think it stretched itself out or had pointless sequences. I thought all of it, personally, at least, I thought it all felt valuable. I thought the pacing felt really strong. Like every time I went to a new area, I'm like, this feels right. This feels like a good progression.
Okay. And the game won several year-end awards. Several publication named it one of the best games ever made. So there you had that. Yeah. So
I don't know if I'd quite go that far, but
some of the several year-end awards that it won, including it was Best Audio at the 2015 Game Developer Choice Awards, Audio Achievement at the 11th British Academy Game Awards. There, it's had a bunch of ports there. Most recently, it had a port to Nintendo Switch. I played the trailer for that in 2019. Is that where you played the game, Switch?
so I got it for the Switch initially. It was on sale for like $6. I actually was having a harder time with the beginning on the Switch specifically, and I don't know if it was just the Switch controller just didn't really feel good to control. But I ended up buying it on the PlayStation because again, it was on sale on that platform too for $7. So I was like, what the hell? If let me get the more powerful system, the better controller. Um, for me, the controller I think is just what made a big difference. It
Okay.
just felt better to
Do you
actually
have
maneuver.
the Pro Controller? Or do you have like just when you attach it in the Joy-Con?
I actually do have a Pro controller for the Switch, but for some reason it just I don't know. Maybe the performance had a big part of it as well, and maybe the performance on the Switch just wasn't working for me either.
Okay. And also there was a television adaptation of Alien Isolation digital series. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
I haven't heard of that at all.
So yeah, so this was it right here. Where you can, yeah,
Is it still animation there?
yeah, it's still
Okay.
animation. So it's like a digital series there. People can check
Oh,
out there.
weird.
So yeah,
It looks
got
like
that.
it's literally just the cutscenes from the game.
Maybe that's what it. Maybe they just did that. Maybe cutscenes
Cut
from
it
the
up
game.
so you could watch it instead of play it. That's not a
Yeah.
bad idea if people are interested. Though, like at least in my opinion, the story was kind of one of the weaker parts. So
Mm. And there's also DLC with the game. There's downloadable content. The first two packs were Crew Expendable, and Last Survivor. Did you play that?
I did not play any of the DLC.
Okay, and that were made available at the time of the release. Okay, so you had that.
I looked
Um,
at them a little bit, and it mostly looked like challenge mode stuff. So
mm,
I thought, like, I don't know, I guess I just felt like the main game was more so what I wanted to focus on.
I know. Also, when this game came out, I mean, wasn't there a controversy with IGN? They gave it like a 5 or something as well. There.
Yeah, IGN gave it a 5 out of 10. Um, which people, I mean, at the end of the day, people just it just shows 10 years later, people haven't learned to just be okay with people having different opinions.
Yeah.
Nobody's learned. The internet hasn't changed.
It says Alien Isolation erases the memory of colonial marines, but it's still not the great alien game we were hoping for. Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think it is the great alien game that people were hoping for.
Yeah.
But again, it's just someone's opinion. If they didn't,
Yeah.
I was expecting to not like it, honestly, because I don't typically get into this kind of stealth stuff, right? Or at least the horror kind of stealth stuff. But I changed my mind as I got through it. But whatever, the dude, he just didn't care for it, and that's fine. People dogpiled on that review so hard. They blamed that guy for a sequel not getting
Yeah.
made.
That one
And
guy.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, come on, guys. The game made a bunch of money. If a sequel didn't get made, and then a sequel just got announced, so obviously it's happening. But if it took 10 years for it to happen, that's because they weren't ready to do it. Or
Yeah.
contracts were, not settled behind the scenes or something like that. One review out of a sea of positive reviews did not keep a sequel from getting made. Like that's just silly.
Mm. So, yeah, low peak alien isolation there from